It's time for Wise Money with Korhorn Financial Group with certified financial planners Kevin Korhorn, Mike Bernard, and Josh Gregory.
Welcome to another episode of the Wise Money Show with Korhorn Financial Group, where every week we're helping you take your next wise step in your financial life. Thanks for being here, friends. My name is Mike Bernard. I'm your host. I'm also one of the certified financial planners on the program. With me, just one, in the KFC studios today. Kevin Korhorn is out, but Josh Gregory right by my side.
Glad to be with you, Mike. Well, we've all made past mistakes in our finances, and obviously the hope is to learn from them and not repeat them. So we're going to take a unique perspective today and help you overcome common financial mistakes so you can avoid an unpleasant financial future. It'll be that and more on today's episode.
That is right. If you have questions for the program, we'd love to hear from you. We'll definitely be getting to questions later on in the program. You can call or text us, 574-222-2000. That's 574-222-2000. Online, wisemoneyshow.com. You can submit questions right there. Most questions come through the YouTube channel or on social media. Wherever you're at, we are there as well. All right, Merry Christmas to you if you celebrate. I hope you do. And we are obviously recording this show in advance, airing on Christmas Eve. Hope it's a wonderful holiday season for you, and you're looking forward to a fantastic day today, tomorrow as well. Josh, we're going to obviously get a little Christmas theme today in the content, so it's pretty risky. But what's your favorite Christmas movie?
Yeah. You know, I think I would go back to my childhood. Every single year we would watch, to kind of start the year, two cartoons. One was the Mickey Mouse version of the Christmas Carol.
Okay.
And then the other was How the Grinch Stole Christmas.
The 30-minute one.
The
right?
original cartoon, not the Jim Carrey or the later one here.
Yeah. I was going to say...
Those feel like Christmas to me. They kind of mark the start of the season.
Okay.
How about you?
I thought you were going A Christmas Story.
No.
Because that... Okay. So
that is actually outlawed in our house.
Really? No. Your kids would be mischievous, I think, and I bet I could see each of them well, not each of them. Aria's an angel. You know that. Yeah. But watching that movie and then licking a pole, or
who hasn't been tempted? Like,
I know,
is that just Hollywood special effects, or can that really happen?
Right.
That's such a dumb movie. I can't handle it, honestly.
It is, and yet it's a classic. I would say.
Is that your favorite?
No, Christmas Vacation. Chevy Chase, old school Chevy Chase was just the best. And so that's definitely up there. The worst Christmas movie of all time is the classic, and you mentioned it, A Christmas Carol. It's like a horror.
It's pretty scary.
Like in its stuff, and I get it. It's tearjerker. It's emotional. It gets you. It's introspective. You're thinking of yourself and the mistakes that you've made. I don't want to think about that at Christmas at Christmas time. But anyway, for whatever reason, I was thinking about that, and obviously, there's no spoiler alert with Christmas Carol. You know it. Like, and so it's a fantastic life lesson. It's not, it doesn't give me all the holiday feelings, but it's, you go back and you think about the mistakes that you've made in life, and maybe people that you've hurt with some of your decisions, and that's harmful. And then you get to look at, or the character, right, Scrooge, it's to look at the mistakes how he's living right now, mistakes he's still making, and that's going to lead to a future that he doesn't want. And it's obviously there's parallels there in your finances. Okay, if we can just turn it a little bit, that we've all made financial mistakes and have financial regrets, and you don't want to dwell on those, but you do want to learn the lessons from those. And then also, and this is probably more of the examples we'll talk about, but where you're living a certain way right now financially, you're making certain financial decisions, and you may not realize it, but it's going to lead you to a financial future that you don't want, that's undesired. And oftentimes we see that doing comprehensive financial planning. When you're looking at just one area, or you've got blinders on, you're making certain financial decisions thinking, well, this is what I should do. And through comprehensive financial planning, we're able to sort of unveil, you know what, this is where that's going to lead you.
Right.
And here's a better way to live, or some better financial decisions to make that's going to get you where you want to go. So I thought we'd spend a little bit of time talking about some of those mistakes, some of those regrets, some of those changes that people can make to get them to a more desired financial future. And I want to start with retirement. That's the big one.
Yeah.
That's the big financial goal out there. Josh, what are some examples or principles, things that you've seen where people have either made mistakes in the past or maybe are living a certain way right now that's going to lead them to a financial future they really don't want?
Well, and honestly, I think we see this an awful lot when we're first getting started with brand new financial planning clients who have as one of their primary goals, retirement is out there on the horizon, could be a decade out. But they don't really know, am I on pace to be able to retire the way that I want to? So it's not necessarily that they're doing something wrong right now or they're blowing money, making big mistakes or anything. They just may not have all the right actions, all the right disciplines, all the right habits in place to take them where they want to go. And that's where retirement projections or that retirement planning portion of the overall financial plan allows them to see, maybe for the first time, hey, am I on pace here? Am I pointed in the right direction? And it's an eye-opener to a lot of people. Mm-hmm. And that was actually, I could go all the way back to the very beginning of my career. The very first client that I ever got to serve, still get to serve them today, 21 plus years later. And that was their story problem. They were 7 years out from retirement and wanted to know, well, am I going to be able to retire? And honestly, we would look at where they were at and no, they were nowhere near being ready. Mm. They hadn't saved enough. They were spending too much of their income. In the current year, they had 2 houses. They had a pension that they were counting on, but the company was going bankrupt. And Pension Benefit Guaranty Corporation, which is almost like, if you've never heard of that before, it's like the FDIC insurance for the pension world.
Yeah, but it's
right?
not that good.
No.
When you think FDIC insurance, you think, okay, I'm made whole, not with the PBGC.
No. Yeah, there's a minimum, or actually, I guess you could say a maximum that they'll pay out. But his pension was going to be cut in half. Mm-hmm. And so, that's the story problem. So even if they hadn't been doing anything really wrong, they just weren't ready. And so the process of retirement planning and running these forecasts is what revealed to them, here's my reality if I fast forward the clock and 7 years have gone by, am I able to retire? The answer was no for them.
So no one, your CFP is not going to hunt you in the middle of the night and sort of show you this revelation of, hey, if you keep doing what you're doing, this is what it's going to look like out there. But the equivalent of that is a Monte Carlo 5-factor retirement projection, okay? And those are some big words, but you can't just make a couple quick, brief assumptions or overlook some of the nitty-gritty details and take a look and say, well, am I on track for retirement or not? Those are online calculators. That's what quote-unquote financial advisors that are just trying to help you with your investments, that's what they do. It's not helpful. It is not helpful. You need a 5-factor retirement plan based on the decisions that you're making, and we'll go over these 5 here in just a second, and that's going to reveal, well, are you on track or not? And if not, or if it's close, what are the adjustments that you need to make to get on track? That's the ghost of Christmas future, right? Yeah, right there.
I love it. When I first started with that very first client, we hadn't developed the 5-factor system or anything. We were doing forecasts and projections. It was a spreadsheet system and all of that. But really, along the way, we were creating a context for them to be able to make hard decisions. And they had some things go right for them. They received a small inheritance and they put it to use wonderfully. They made a hard choice to downsize the house. They basically sold the big family homestead that they had raised their family in and everything, and they moved into their own rental property, smaller, the right size for them, into retirement, easier to take care of. But, there was a little bit of humility that Sure. they had to show in order to do that. And all of a sudden, they started stringing together some great savings habits that they built up quickly. They were able to really make up some ground on their retirement nest egg leading into the retirement years. And all of a sudden, they went from not on pace, not ready, to retiring on time, on their goal. And it may have been a little bit different picture than what they had originally hoped for, but they were retired. And wow. Years into their retirement, I remember them just with tears being so grateful that they had the time to give back into some ministries that they care about, to be able to support family, all because they didn't have to be working anymore.
Wow.
So it really is fun to think back about these stories where if you show someone what the future could look like versus what they're on pace to have it look like, and then watch them make some cool decisions, man, that is satisfying work right there.
That's the power of comprehensive financial planning, working with your CFP. All right, what are some other ways that you can course correct and get on track for that financial future that you want? We've got that and more coming up on the Wise Money Show with Korhorn Financial Group. Hello, YouTube. Thanks for being here. This is the Wise Money Show. You're at the Wise Money Show channel. Make sure you hit that subscribe button, turn on notifications if you like the content. What you're watching right now is our weekly 1-hour talk show that airs right here on this channel, 10 a.m. Eastern Time every Saturday morning. Yes, even on Christmas Eve. We recorded it in advance. Also going to air on podcast, but it's also going to air on a few different radio stations, which is why the content is the way that it is. But we've got a lot of other content that airs on this channel all throughout the work week. So make sure you hit that subscribe button. Turn on notifications so you're made aware every time we drop new content. And if you like the content, like the content. Thank you very much. All right. We could maybe park on retirement just a touch more because I'd like.
I was going to say, do you have any stories of your own there? I always like hearing your stories.
Well, I don't know about that. I don't really have a great one in the holster, but I would like to share another and then talk through the 5 factors. I mean, because I think for retirement, that's the one that plays so well into this, silly analogy of mistakes in the past, living a certain way today, and what do you want your future to look like?
Yep.
So, and then we'll go into delayed spending, and I can share my story about that, or you can as well, but it deals with Christmas too. So, all right. What are some things that you could be doing right now that maybe are leading you to a financial future that is undesired, that you actually don't want? You don't realize it. And what adjustments can you make to get on track? We're helping with that right now. This is the Wise Money Show with Korhorn Financial Group. Thanks for being here. My name is Mike Bernard. With me in the KFG studios, no Kevin Korhorn today, but Josh Gregory by my side. Every episode of the Wise Money Show is on podcast, wherever you listen. Just search the Wise Money Show and subscribe to it or follow us there, whatever, and then rate the program when you're there as well. That is helpful feedback for us. We're airing this show Christmas Eve, and we're taking a Christmas theme to it. Before we get into listener questions, that is, the one of the hardest and worst and least liked Christmas stories is A Christmas Carol. Now, it's a classic though, and it definitely gets you thinking about your life. But financially, what are some mistakes that maybe you've made in the past that you're carrying with you? What are some decisions you're making right now, or some of the actions you're taking financially that ultimately are not going to lead you to a desired financial future, the financial future that you want? And you need that revelation and someone to work with you through those mistakes in the past and what you're doing today and where it's going to take you, and course correct so that you get on track to live the financial life that you want. And sort of, obviously Scrooge, the financial analogy is he's very frugal. He's cheapskate. Yep. And so much so that he sort of rips people off and all that sort of stuff. That's not the financial angle. Don't live that way, right? Be generous inside and out, financially and with your time and all that. With retirement, though, to me, Josh, I've seen examples like that as well that you shared in the first segment, and I would take a different approach then. Another example where we see people living a certain way and wanting a certain financial result and just saying, listen, you're not on track for that result. Mm-hmm. I've shared this before. The American dream, many people look at that and say, well, the American dream is my future is going to be easier than the previous generations. Each generation gets a little bit better. And I would look back, and yes, there's problems, but there's lots of research on this and data points that no, things are getting better. Things are getting better. Is it great? It might not be. Are there problems? Absolutely, but things are in general getting better. But when it relates to your finances, I think there's a view of younger folks, and I mean of each generation when you're young, thinking, well, financially, I'll be able to retire earlier than the generation before because things are getting better. And things should be better this generation than last generation. So if the predominant thinking was retire at 65, I bet I can retire at 60. Bet I can retire at 55. And when people come in, young people come in, and maybe they're in their 30s or their early 40s, and they share that, it doesn't catch your CFP by surprise. We hear that all the time. But I think the Scrooge analogy here is oftentimes you're not aware that it requires that much more sacrifice to be able to actually do that.
That's right.
So you're not, we were just dealing with one this last week where the individual had the goal of being done at 55 and they literally were not saving for retirement yet.
What?
And they were in their early 30s. And they thought, well, we'll be able to do what we need to do, but I mean, we're going to be done at 55. And it's like, no, in order to be done at 55, unless you're going to make some really big changes, no, you need to start when you were 21, like your very first job, saving a ton.
That's right. And that's hard, though, for people to be able to quantify or to just intuitively know how much money do I need to have accumulated for retirement to be affordable, right? Or how much can I afford to live off of when I get to retirement if I start retirement that early?
Yeah, because essentially the principle or the approach that is being overlooked is that there are 5 factors to your retirement, to knowing whether you're on track or not. And these 5 factors, they're all interrelated. They're choices that you get to make, and it might feel culturally or socially, no, I don't have a choice. This is what it is. This is how much I spend. This is how much chicken wings cost, whatever. But these are choices, and they're all interrelated. And they're interrelated to determine, well, are you on track or not, or do you need to make some adjustments? The first is age. Mm-hmm. When are you going to retire? When do you want to retire? But it's tricky because if you dive under the hood with that, it's both age and life expectancy. So how long is retirement going to last?
That's right.
And when we break it down and make it really simple, I think it's more clear. Well, retire at 55. Well, yeah, people before me retired at 62, so I'm sure I can do better than that. Well, listen, going to Disney World is going to cost more if you're going for a month versus going for a weekend. Your retirement is going to cost more if it's significantly longer than someone that was, working longer than you, right? So the age at which you retire and life expectancy, that's a huge one. That's the first one.
What would you say the trends are right now? Like as you're serving more clients and helping people transition into retirement, do you feel more clients are wanting to retire earlier, or is it about the same? Going later? What's your observation along the way?
I'm cheating here because I saw a survey recently, did a video about it on the show on the channel, but I think a little bit later is what I've seen. 64-ish is probably, and that's what the data showed. People have shifted just over the past couple of years from saying they hope to retire at 62. Now they're saying they hope to retire at 64.
Yeah.
What would you say?
I would say I have observed and noticed that more people are pushing retirement back. And I think maybe it's generational. I don't know. I think of our generation and I just assume we're all going to work later because we're all going to live longer potentially. And so if we retired at the same time as our parents, but then tack on an extra 5 or 6 years to the end of retirement, we have a harder story problem to solve. Right? You're trying to go to Disneyland for the month and a half in a case like that, in your analogy there. So I don't know. I've found a lot of the clients that we get to serve, they maybe fall into 2 different camps. Some are looking for an early exit out of the stress that they're under, but that doesn't necessarily mean that they want to be done working. They just want to be out of their particular industry or their particular role. And then, of course, there's some who just absolutely love the work that they do. And if you let them, they would work until the day they die. Both camps, though, both examples, I'm seeing people pushing retirement back a little bit. Yeah. And it's not necessarily because they're not ready financially either. It's just, I don't know, I want to keep on working.
Yeah.
So I don't know. That's a values thing, right? Each generation maybe approaches work a little bit differently, but the age that you retire, if you were to knock 4 or 5 years off your career, that's 4 or 5 less years for you to be contributing, 4 or 5 more years that you need to support yourself without a paycheck.
Yeah,
right?
Because that hits right to the second and third factor, and the second is spending. What are your spending habits? But yes, I mean, if you retire earlier, so 55, and again, a lot of younger folks don't realize this, well, you're going to have to pay for health insurance.
That's right.
And cover taxes and cover all of your lifestyle with savings. So inflation's part of that as well. You're spending, and then the third factor is your income. And yes, retiring that much earlier before Social Security not only means you've got a big gap that you've got to figure out how to solve this income for, but your Social Security is going to be less because your working career was less. You paid less into it. Most people that are doing this FIRE movement, financial independence, retire early, that sort of thing, they're really shifting from a career to being self-employed. Mm-hmm. That's what they're calling retirement. Is I've built other income streams for me that require work and attention and all of that. Rental houses is the primary one, but I can step away from my paycheck because I've got other income sources. If you don't have that, you've got to save up a lot more dollars, which is the fourth factor. How much retirement savings do you have, and how much are you saving in order to provide income for yourself?
And some people are not willing to make that aggressive of a sacrifice, right?
Yeah.
The amount of money that you need to be feeding into your retirement nest egg so that it can be growing for the future, it may be a larger dollar amount than what you can really stomach. Or it forces you to take more risk than what you're willing to take with those investments. And that's the fifth factor. It's how am I going to structure the portfolio, the right balance between risk and reward, or risk and growth potential. You know, you take less risk and there's less growth or accumulation happening. The nest egg's smaller. Retirement may have to be, adjusted because of it.
Certainly, if Bitcoin can go from 3 to 18 to 36 to 69, yeah, I'll just contribute there and I'll be able to retire early. And then it goes to 18 or 16 or whatever, right? So, all right, we've got a few more principles and then listener questions from fans of the show about Roth contributions, Roth conversions, those sorts of strategies. So we've got that and more coming up on the Wise Money Show with Korhorn Financial Group. All right.
So you wanted to get into present financial position?
I think delayed spending would be good, and that one might be an easy one. Insurance, I was thinking, living life with the wrong coverage. And just assuming, well, I'm not going to have a claim. Uh-huh. That one could be super quick as well. And then I don't know. The last example that I had or category was investments. I don't know if we want to hit that.
Yeah, I think that's a good one.
Okay. So third segment, maybe we can hit all of
those.
To
most of those.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. All right. Are the financial decisions you're making today going to lead you to the financial future that you desire? Or, like Scrooge in The Christmas Carol, are you doing things today that are actually going to lead you to an undesired financial future? You need that wake-up call and make some adjustments today. We're helping with that right now. This is the Wise Money Show with Korhorn Financial Group. Thanks for being here. My name is Mike Bernard. With me in the KFC studios, Josh Gregory. Every episode of the Wise Money Show is on the YouTube channel. Go check it out. Search YouTube. Go to YouTube, search the Wise Money Show, and find us there. Lots of other content there as well, so check that out. All right, we're recording this in advance, airing on Christmas Eve, taking a Christmas theme to it, applying the Christmas Carol, mistakes in the past, living a certain way today that's going to lead you to a future that is undesired, applying it to your finances. Why? Because I hate that movie. It just freaks me out. But financially, we all have that. We are all doing that. And Josh and I are talking from the radio waves, helping to encourage and give you hope and point you in the right direction. We're doing this too, guys. We've made mistakes. You could look at my financial life and say, if this keeps going, it's probably going to lead you to some places you don't want to go. And we've all got that, right? To some degree. And you need a coach in your life to point that out and make sure you're on the right track. And so we talked about retirement. I mean, that one fits into the analogy so easily. There's another one, and that is how you manage your day-to-day, month-to-month, year-to-year cash flow. And so we recommend having a 3-bank account system. We're going to talk through that in just a second, but let me explain it and just really succinctly. Very first Christmas, when Cindy and I were married, it's a long time ago, she wanted to be very, very generous with gift giving. And I was more like Scrooge, actually, very much so, and was very aware of what things cost, and very aware of where we were in our career and our life and everything, and so I'll just tell you, it was frustrating because I was the
for her or for you.
Yes, it was. I was the no person, and she was joyfully trying to give gifts and was very irritated when I said, no, we're not doing that. And I was irritated as she was trying to give gifts and felt a little small bit of victory when she would, rein in the, so it was not good. It was, and I just knew if this continues, where I'm looking at the monthly budget and thinking, this doesn't fit, this doesn't fit, this doesn't fit. I knew it was going to lead us down a road financially and potentially in our marriage that was just not going to be good. And so after that Christmas, we sat down and we were just starting to really employ this principle at KFG back in 05, 06 timeframe. And we sat down and said, okay, well, that didn't go well. How can we both be generous and not and be financially responsible? Mm-hmm. How can we be generous and financially responsible? And at that time in January, we sort of just made a list. Okay, who's everyone that we gave a gift to this year? And approximately how much of a gift did we want to give? And, not that you want to buy gift cards or be so strict on a budget, but approximately how much was it? And we just added it up, divided it by 52, and I started an automatic savings every Thursday that went into an account that I called delayed spending, that we called delayed spending. And therefore, come November 1st of the next year, that money was available, and Cindy was able to buy gifts and be generous within some sort of clear structure.
Yeah.
And it was much better. And we've been doing that ever since. And we've applied the same principle to lots of other categories in our life, things that we know are going to be expenses on the horizon, but they don't happen every month. So they are going to break the monthly budget. How do you handle those?
Mm-hmm. And Christmas is the perfect example, right? It comes around the same time every single year. And yet every single year, it kind of catches people by surprise or unprepared. And so what happens, Christmas often goes on the credit card, or you just kind of start spending and hope for the best, a lot of people. And it is a recipe potentially for conflict or financial hardship down the road. One of the two. Mm-hmm. You're either going to have spouses that are kind of button heads a little bit, have different views on this, or, all in, let's just spend what we want to spend and we'll, deal with the consequences down the road. And neither one of those is a recipe for peace in the home, right? Or joy around Christmas time. And so what if you could turn normal every year type expenses into a bite-sized piece that you can manage throughout the year, plan ahead for. And now's the time, right? If Christmas is basically done and you've already paid for all the gifts that you wanted to give, now's the time to start thinking about next year and begin squirreling away a little bit of money. That delayed spending account we often think of as kind of the linchpin that helps people go from crisis type living in their financial life to now being proactive and getting out ahead of those known expenses so that they don't create a hardship just because December 25th comes around.
If you feel a little bit like your finances are one step forward, two steps back, then you haven't got this perfected yet. If you look nationally, we have now broke the record for credit card balance. Credit card balances were at all-time highs, an astounding number. It appears as though people are able to make their payments and doing okay with that. But if things do get challenging in the economy, that's going to be a hardship. Interest rates on credit cards have increased significantly. On average, it's gone from under 14% to over 16%. On bigger balances, that's a problem. So if you're feeling like, the credit card bill I used to pay off every month and now I can't, I feel like it's one step forward, two steps back financially, it's because these irregular non-monthly expenses pop up and you've got a little wiggle room each month, but that in certain months, that doesn't go all the way and cover those non-monthly expenses. But if you if you added all those up and then smoothed that out, you'd be able to. It should all fit. Work with your CFP and get that figured out.
You know, one of the other things that we sometimes see are folks who don't have enough wiggle room in the normal monthly budget. And often it's because they've kind of obligated themselves to certain monthly expenses. And it's not that they have an income problem, it's that they have an expense problem each month. And it could be in the form of debt. You know, they've borrowed money and they've thought about purchases in terms of, hey, can I handle that monthly payment? Well, you may be able to just fine when life is going well and when you're getting all the hours at work and there is no pay cut or anything like that. But as soon as there's something that kind of rocks the boat, all of a sudden that wiggle room evaporates and now it's like a strain each month. And the risk, like if we're talking about a show here today where we can describe what's happening today and forecast where does this road lead to, it leads to, for some people in an extreme case, bankruptcy. In less extreme cases, just financial stress or strain or conflict, arguments, that kind of thing. But none of it is happy, right?
Yeah, I mean, it could even, and this one is going to fly under the radar. You won't really notice it, but it will be real. Not achieving some goals. Oh, I wish we could have done that. I wish we could have, upgraded the house at that time. I wish we could have done that vacation. I wish we could have whatever. And those are going to be not possible.
That's right. And that's why we don't just emphasize the second bank account. The delayed spending does matter, but you have to have margin and not be overspending in the first bank account, which is your checking account. That's the in and out transactional type account, the stuff that comes around every single month. Make sure the every month type of bills don't overwhelm you. But the third bucket, the third bank account also matters, and that's the emergency fund. It's the safety net that gives you confidence across all of the other areas of your financial life, and it allows you to bounce back if you have those surprises that could not be foreseen. They are just too extreme of a financial hit, and you've prepared for it ahead of time. The one that'll maybe scaring a lot of people right now is, what if I lose my job? What if I have an interruption or a pay cut or something like that to the family income? And obviously, that doesn't have to create financial crisis. But for a lot of people, it will if you don't get these three bank accounts humming and working well for you even now.
Yeah. So the checking account should be operated off of a monthly budget. You know how much money is coming in, all your regular monthly expenses. Your delayed spending, then, you add up all those expenses that are irregular. Some of them are needs, some of them are wants. They're going to come up and you're going to say yes to them. And you add all those up, divide it by 12, and make sure that number fits in that monthly budget. You save it up in advance. And then for all the unforeseen things, that's why you've got the emergency fund. And that structure allows you to then save up for those long-term goals and have that financial future that you want. We've got a few other areas we got to point out, and then questions from fans of the show. That more coming up on the Wise Money Show with Korhorn Financial Group.
Okay, since the first segment, I've had this question.
Why is Home Alone not my favorite?
I am a little bit surprised by that.
Yeah.
Because you're like at just the right age for that to be one of your favorites, but that wasn't my question.
Okay.
What is it with you and chicken wings?
It's the...
that is what you always point to.
Yeah.
Inflation, it's like it only happens in chicken wings in your world.
Yeah.
Is this going back to Buffalo Wild Wings, or
maybe.
Is that all you guys eat?
Maybe. Okay, so would it surprise you if I told you it's December 24th? I have not had a chicken wing all year.
Really?
And I use this example. Why?
Because they're too expensive? Scrooge, there it is again.
I thought...
No, kids, you can...
I thought it was hilarious that we had this chicken wing shortage during COVID, and that prices then went through the roof and all that sort of stuff. And so that's sort of categorically when I'm saying prices are up, I just, hey, chicken wings. Chicken wings cost more.
Okay.
I don't know. So
that's funny.
Yeah, it doesn't really make much sense, but I wish I had a better reason.
I think for Andrea, it would be cheese curds.
Cheese curds? Really?
She just likes cheese.
Yeah.
Which, I don't know.
I wouldn't know if cheese curds are more expensive or not.
I don't either, actually.
I did get this. Okay, this is the last bonus content. So there's been a pivot in our house, and there's sort of lots of reasons why, but Cindy now does the grocery shopping. And I used to, something that I would do, and now she does. And she has noticed how expensive things get. And so her her response has been, we need to go out to eat more. It's so expensive. Why? Because she doesn't pay the bill at the restaurant.
Right.
She doesn't see that. Like, that's me. When we go out to eat, I've got the debit card. I'm like, okay, you're getting the bill, and that's just whatever. And so she sees how expensive things are at the grocery store. And is like, oh, this is too expensive. We need to go out to eat more.
That's
and she
funny.
doesn't realize, no, it's it's all going.
I feel like I've completely given up at the restaurants. It's just here's the card.
Oh, gosh.
Don't even tell me. It's every time you go to your favorite restaurant, it's more expensive.
So much so that the kids even say, we don't go out to eat that much anymore. Yeah, that's right. So, all right, fourth segment. We'll try to get to at least one question, and there's a couple that are really manageable. Yeah, okay. Thanks for being here. This is the Wise Money Show with Korhorn Financial Group. My name is Mike Bernard. With me in the KFG studios, Joshua Gregory. No Kevin Korhorn today. Every episode, as well as a lot of other content, it's on the Wise Money Show channel. Just go there and you can learn a little bit more about the show, learn a little bit more about the firm, submit questions. Like I said, listen to previous episodes or get access to them. So go to thewisemoneyshow.com or on social media, wherever you're at. We are there as well. And thank you very much. Okay, special show today. It's airing on Christmas Eve. We've recorded this in advance, but we're talking through sort of just the Christmas Carol, Scrooge, seeing mistakes in his life, living a certain way in the moment, leading to a future that is just, awful, that he doesn't want. Financially, we've all got mistakes. Financially, we may be doing some things today that we think is going to, make sense today, but it's going to lead us to a financial future that is undesirable, that we don't want. We're talking through some of those areas today. Now, really quickly, Josh, in the area of insurance, I feel like with coverages, it's tempting to say, well, I'm making these decisions because I'm assuming I'm not going to have a claim. And yet in the future, you just don't know. Mm-hmm. And so oftentimes through the comprehensive financial planning process, teaching how coverage works with someone is that ghost of Christmas future where you all of a sudden see, oh, well, this is how this works. Okay, that's why I need to have coverage at a certain level.
Yeah, that's right. And a good example of that, obviously when we talk about insurance, some people's minds go to life insurance and the catastrophic financial hit that a family can experience if one of the main breadwinners of the household passed away prematurely or something. That's extreme. A lot of people carry life insurance either through work or they get their own policies in place. But another example is just your car insurance. How much coverage you carry may be flirting with some danger that you don't even realize. And it's part of the reason why we often try to educate people and help them understand that when it comes to car insurance, we take a financial planning approach to make sure, do you have the right liability protections in place? Yep. Because, especially this time of year, you slide through the wrong stop sign and hit the wrong vehicle and injure the wrong person, the financial hit to you and your family to try to help make them whole could be more than your family can bear. Right.
I mean, you know what I'm seeing more? I mean, we've just passed Josh's favorite day of the year. It's the shortest day of the year, not because he's grumpy, because that's an optimistic day. They're going to get brighter from here on out. And yet I'm seeing more people riding bikes or like when there's not snow on the ground or walking when it's, 6:15 and it's pitch black out. Mm-hmm. And it's like, put a light on or something. I can't see you at all.
Yeah.
It just takes that momentary lapse of one of the kids making a comment in the vehicle. All of a sudden my attention turns to them or I'm distracted by them and there's someone walking where, injured.
It's scary. And you hope that your kids have a healthy respect, obviously, for what kind of damage can be done when you're behind the wheel. But the financial unraveling that can take place if you don't have the right protection in place is pretty significant. And a lot of people just don't give it any thought because what do all the commercials on TV tell you? it's really all about price, right? How do you get a fast quote and save yourself that 15% that magically everyone saves? Well, you can have a great price on the completely wrong insurance and leave your family, your financial future completely unprotected if you don't do it right. And so we do care about the liability protection. That's the coverage that it's like lawsuit protection. How do you make the other person whole? But there's also things like uninsured or underinsured motorist coverage that help make you whole if you're the victim in the accident or it's one of your loved ones in the vehicle with you, and that other driver who caused the accident didn't have the right protection in place. Maybe they were driving without insurance, which is illegal, but people do it, right? If that was the case, man, we can just tell you stories, right, of people who kind of flirt with danger, drive around without the right coverage, and here's what it did to them.
Right.
And it's pretty tragic, unfortunately.
What about last one we're going to hit here is from an investment standpoint. And I think it's easy right now after a volatile year to think, well, there's no way I can retire if this continues. And therefore the temptation might be during turbulent times to go a lot more conservative. And yet when you forecast that out, ghost of Christmas future sort of thing, you're not going to be able to have the growth and the rebound that you will need to be on track with your retirement. So going back to that very first topic we hit, that fifth factor is risk. And if you all of a sudden take risk to no risk or very little risk, then you're going to have to work longer, save up more, spend less. There's going to be a trade-off for that adjustment.
You're exactly right. And to me, risk management when it comes to the investments is pretty similar to the insurance that we were just talking about. You don't really realize what the implications are 20, 30 years down the road. But taking too little of risk can be actually one of the biggest mistakes that people make in their financial life. And it's part of the reason we kind of started this show talking about retirement projections and helping people to see if you keep doing what you're doing, what does the future look like? Investments and the amount of growth potential that you give yourself is one of those primary areas.
Yeah, the opposite can be true as well. And we saw the issues with crypto this year, and so taking too much risk also can have the same impact. Where listen, it feels like this is working now. This is speculative stuff. You venture too far down the road here, and you might not like where it takes you. And so making sure you've got a prudent investment approach that fits with your overall financial life.
I agree completely. As we kind of wrap up this topic, you started the show pointing to the Christmas Carol and Scrooge and the past, present, and future glimpses that he got. And I'm always reminded of that story. One of the reasons I like that show is the picture of when his life was happy. There was a time in most of the movies where they do highlight he's at a party, he's got the girl, he's whatever. Like he was doing some things right along the way, and then he made a choice. His greed and everything kind of took him down a different path or whatever. But I think it's important to also just pause and recognize in our own lives, hey, where have there been glimpses in the past where it's been working? Our finances were not a point of contention or stress or anything. It felt like we were making progress in our financial lives, because a lot of times when you look back to those periods, some of the secrets of what was working well can be repeated in the future also. Yeah. That's part of the role of having a certified financial planner in your life, someone who can point to the optimistic glimpses of goodness in the past and let's say, okay, how do we bring that into the future by taking advantage of it in the present here?
Yeah. Oh, okay, so I said earlier we're going to get to listener questions. We are not. This topic took a little bit more time than what I even anticipated because, and hopefully you found it helpful. These are timeless principles, but the timeless principle is how you approach your financial life. I mean, that's the thing. So how do you know? How do you know if this was actually working or it was just a mirage? How do you know that you should be acting or behaving, making certain financial decisions to reach a desired financial future? We tried to help you with some examples, but it's really the approach, because your financial life is unique to you. You might have the same job as your neighbor, and again, live in the same neighborhood, have the same number of kids. Your finances might be completely different. You cannot fathom the ways that they are different from just the smallest choices or influences. So what's the approach that you take to make sure that you're being wise today about your finances and leading in going in the right direction for your financial future? That's comprehensive financial planning. Looking at all 6 areas of your financial life, how they're working, how they're interrelating, and making decisions when decisions come up that will bring synergy to those 6 areas.
I love it. You know, the only other word of encouragement that I would leave you with is, again, to enjoy living your life, not the people around you. Don't go into the comparison game. And that's easy to do, especially this time of year, right? But to think about, okay, what are the things, as I transition into a new year, what are the things that I could be doing differently to put myself on a better path? That's where your certified financial planner can help bring clarity to that.
That's right. Well, Merry Christmas. Hope you've had a wonderful holiday season thus far. Have a fantastic couple days ahead of you. That's all the time we have for today. On behalf of Josh Gregory, myself, all of us at Korhorn Financial Group, have a great weekend. We'll see you next Saturday for the Wise Money Show with Korhorn Financial Group.
Securities offered through Silver Oak Securities, member FINRA/SIPC. Advisory services offered through KFG Wealth Management, LLC. Doing business as Korhorn Financial Group. KFG Wealth Management, LLC and Silver Oak Securities Incorporated companies are unaffiliated.